Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I hope you're having a creative start to your week. Yesterday was Cinco de Mayo, and it's really inspired the project that I'm going to share with you today. We are going to be making an Avocado Guy Key Fob. So I don't know about you, but I love me some avocado, and I absolutely have to have guacamole on Cinco de Mayo no matter what. So I hope you also enjoyed some guacamole or tacos or margaritas or however you celebrate Cinco de Mayo. Before we get into today's project, though, we have just 1 week until our Patriotic Patchwork webcast. This is in partnership with the American Sewing Guild. And I know that you guys have been hearing me talk about it for a couple of weeks now, but I just want to make sure everyone is registered because as long as you register for this event, whether you're going to watch live or watch after the live event ends, on our event page as a recording, however you choose to watch this event, as long as you're registered, you will receive a free embroidery design from Sulky. It's our America embroidery design, and it's block letters that spell out America, and there's a little bit of American flag running through the letters. So it's a really great design. It goes very well with our patriotic theme. Of course, with this project, you can swap out these fabrics to be whatever you want them to be. We're really just learning a great technique during this webcast. And the technique that I'm going to be teaching you is how to use gridded stabilizer to create piecing plans for different quilt blocks, different creations. And then we're going to take our pieced panel and we are going to create several different projects with it. So I've got this tote bag shown here. We've also got an American flag style panel. And then we also have a pieced heart panel. So you can also take the fabrics that are included in the kit for this webcast and kind of rearrange them however you like. You could take out all the red fabrics and use those for maybe the heart panel. You can take out all of the blue fabrics and use those in some way for a different piecing plan. So you don't necessarily have to use every single fabric that comes with this kit. Also shown here, along with those beautiful batik red, white, and blue prints, you'll also get 16 5-inch squares of white fabrics. And all of the white fabrics, there might be a couple repeats here and there, but they're all different low volume prints. So they're great to kind of mix and match into your piecing plan. Also with this kit, you get 6 spools of 50 weight cotton thread that you can use for your piecing as well as your quilting, depending on the type of quilting you want to do. And you'll also get a snap spool of our 30 weight cotton blendables thread. We talked a lot about the blendables thread on last week's So What. We really took a deep dive into thread weights and needle sizes and all of that. So if you missed last week's So What, you can check it out on our YouTube channel. We actually have a So What playlist. So if you missed any of them or you kind of want to have an afternoon of binging So What, you can kind of pick and choose based on the projects and the descriptions for those live streams. Along with this kit, you also get a rectangle of batting and a 1-yard pack of Sulky Soft and Sheer Extra Stabilizer. Now, depending on what you want to use your panel for, if you want to create the tote bag or an applique panel or a mini quilt or a wall hanging or a placemat, you get the idea. You might want to grab up some more Soft and Sheer Extra Stabilizer just to have it on hand. That's what we're going to use to create our gridded piecing plan. So it is important to have enough of that. And I'm going to be giving you tips during the event for how to create the shape that you need for the pattern that you're working with as well. So this is a really great kit. It's offered at an amazing price. It's only $39.99, I want to say. I think it might retail for upwards of $50. So this is a really great deal that you get only until our webcast goes live. So it's on sale now. grab it up so you can have it on hand. The event is not actually a sew along, but you have all access to the recording of the event as long as you're registered. So if you do want to sew along with me while I'm taking you through the technique and all the projects and inspiration and all of that, you can refer to the video over and over again, rewind, fast forward, pause on certain parts while you're working your way through the project. So don't worry if you haven't gotten your kit or if you decide in a couple of days you want one. It doesn't need to arrive when we go live because, again, you will have access to that content forever. The content never expires. So as long as it's in your library, you'll be able to access it in the future. All right, another thing I want to bring to your attention is our craft tours trip to Germany and Austria. This is happening this winter. It's going to be Christmas market time, so we can do a lot of shopping. We'll be outdoors. We're going to see a lot of the places where they filmed The Sound of Music. We're going to go to Mozart's birthplace in Austria. There's a fantastic Christmas market there as well. It's going to be an amazing, amazing trip. It's December 7th through the 15th of this year. So make sure you check out this itinerary. I linked directly to our Craft Tours Sulky page, so you can head on over there and check out our Germany tour. You can also check out our Greece tour. This was supposed to happen this year, but because of the earthquakes and all of the destruction that happened because of those earthquakes, we had to move this tour to 2026. So this gives you a lot of time to get on a payment plan with Craft Tours, to really plan out the time that you want to have in Greece with us here at Sulky. And it's going to be just an incredible, incredible experience. So you can check out both of those tours using the link that I put in the description of today's post. And I encourage you, if you are interested in our Christmas market tour, I have heard that it is close to selling out. So we do have a few spots available, and this tour is going to close, let's see, it closes about 3 to 4 months before we head out. So I have to do some quick math. It's gonna close around summertime, okay? So you have a little bit longer to kind of think about it, but if it does sell out, that's it. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. If you have been kind of on the fence or thinking about it, looking it over, now is definitely the time to grab up those last spots that we have available. All right. And if you have any questions about Craft Tours, you could put them in the live chat here and I will answer them after the live stream today. Or you can always email us at info@sulky.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions that I can about our Craft Tours trips and at least direct you into the right person if I'm unable to answer those questions. So exciting stuff on the horizon. I love that travel is picking up and tourism is picking up, and just we're getting closer and closer to summertime months, and I just love it. Okay, so back to our avocado guy. I want to mention that this cute little in the hoop design is our freebie for the month of May. So you can grab up this in the hoop Avocado Guy Key Fob design directly. I linked to it in the post here today. So you can click on over, add that to your cart at sulky.com. It'll say $0. And then you can go through the checkout process, and the files will be available for download through your sulky.com account. You should also get an email with your files as well once you go through the checkout process. So you will get this cute little avocado key fob design. Again, this is made entirely in the hoop of your embroidery machine. So once you download it, you're also going to get not only all of your embroidery files in all the different formats, so you'll want to either highlight or you can delete the other formats that you don't need. But find the format for your machine, and you'll also find the color chart. The color chart is relatively simple because there's just not a lot of thread colors in the design. But what's important about the color chart is that, sorry, my snap just came off of this little guy. What's important about the color chart are the steps that you need to take for the embroidery. It's going to tell you when to remove the hoop from the machine, when to turn it over, all of those things. I'm going to go over all of the steps with you right here today. So again, you can refer back to this video as well when you're making your little avocado guy, or you can also follow that color chart. So I used quite a few different fabric types to create some different samples here so you could see the difference between them. But the important thing when you are deciding on your fabric to use for your avocado guy, the important thing is that you want a fabric that won't fray. So cork fabric, Sulky Felty looks really great. Even a vinyl or faux leather will work as well for the key fob. So once you have that, you don't need a very big piece for each one, but you do need 2 pieces because your key fob is going to have a front and a back to it. We're going to sandwich that stabilizer in between during the process. So I would say you need probably, I don't know, a 5-inch square for the front and back pieces. So great to use up scraps. You can grab up an assortment pack of Sulky Felty, and you can use that to make all kinds of different colors of avocados. Maybe you like the light green or the dark green. Those work really great. You get the idea. I think it also looks good on the white. It really makes the details pop. But this is actually a vinyl or faux leather fabric. I just did it on the white just to see what he was going to look like on the white. And then the cork fabric kind of surprised me a little bit. It's a little bit harder to see the details in the cork fabric. See, because it's really just kind of like running stitches. They're not real heavy satin stitches, even on the avocado mouth or the pit, if you will. So I feel like the stitches just kind of get lost on this particular cork fabric. But if you have maybe a pearl cork fabric or maybe even a black cork fabric, your avocado might, the stitching might pop a little bit better for you. The other thing you need along with your fabric is some Sulky Tear-Easy Stabilizer. I like to use tearaway stabilizers when I'm making key fobs like this because you can tear away the stabilizer really cleanly in between the layers before you go to trim it. And then you can't see any of the stabilizer poking out beyond the fabric edges. So it's a really nice clean finish using that tearaway stabilizer. Plus it remains behind in between where you did not tear it away to kind of give a little bit of structure to the key fob so it's not super floppy. All right, so you also need your closures. So I used cam snaps to create a snap closure around this little swivel clip. You can use any snap you like. You can also omit the snap entirely. And when you fold your key fob upper edge to the back side, you can straight stitch across following the top stitching that your machine did and just stitch it closed around your hardware. Speaking of hardware, you do need a swivel clip. About 3/4 to an inch wide. This one might even be 1.25 inches or 1.5 inches. So it's a little bit large for this. I just experimented with a bunch of different types, some swivelly clips, a plain D-ring. You can use an old key ring that you have. Maybe you have a promotional key ring. I always keep those, and I take the promotional thing right off of it, and then I stick it in a drawer where I have all of my little hardware bits and baubles, leftovers from things. And you can dive in there and find the perfect little key ring or D-ring or rectangle ring you get the idea, that you can repurpose for something like this. All right. Also with my cam snaps, I have like an assortment of cam snaps. So I just bought an assortment off Amazon, and it has like, oh, I don't even know, 20 colors of snaps in it. And then it also has an awl, which you will need to create a hole for your snap if you're using a cam snap. Some snaps don't require you to create a hole. So just follow the manufacturer's instructions for the type of snap you're using if you choose to use a snap. I do like using a snap because then it's removable, and you can, you know, maybe you want to swap out your Avocado Guy for something else at a, you know, to hang off your backpack or your bag. And then you can reuse your hardware. You get the idea. Along with the awl that your snaps might come with is a snap setter tool. If you just go and buy some cam snaps, you will need a specific tool to set those snaps into the fabric. I'm going to show you what that looks like when we get to that process, or to that part of the process. So if you choose to use a different snap, make sure you have the right setter according to the type of snap that you're using. All right, and that's pretty much it. Other than the thread, of course, you can use Sulky Rayon thread for this, or you can use Sulky Poly Deco thread for this. It's going to look almost the same, regardless of polyester or rayon thread. So it's really just personal preference. And then I like to use a bobbin thread, a 60 weight bobbin thread for this. However, and hopefully I remember to remind you this when we go through the process of making these, but if you use a regular bobbin thread, you want to make sure that for the last step in the design, you swap out your thread in the bobbin so it matches the thread in the front. That way your last outline stitches that secure the back fabric, those stitches are going to match and look just as pretty on the back as they do on the front. If you forget this and you keep your bobbin thread in there, it's really not that huge of a deal, especially if your bobbin thread's white and maybe you're using white vinyl or white felty, and it'll just blend right in. But just be conscious of that. Consult your color chart because it'll give you a reminder as well. All right. So first up, we're going to load the design into the machine. And even if you have a machine that only has a 4x4 hoop, you can do this design. All right, so one guy fits in a 4x4 hoop. If you want to create multiples of these, maybe you want to hand these out to all of your girlfriends and go out for some chips and salsa, chips and guacamole, then you can combine several into one hooping. I'm going to give you some tips about this as well, because since we are adding fabric to the top and back of our hoop during the stitch out process, if you are stitching out multiples, you may have to move your fabric out of the way of the other Avocado Guy stitching, depending on what part you're on in the process. All right. I like to sync up all the steps. So I'll do all of step 1 of each design, all of step 2 of each design. That way, when I go to flip my hoop over, I only have to do that one time, and I can put all my backing fabrics in place, tape them down, flip my hoop over, put it back on the machine, and do all of the last stitching steps together. It's just every time you remove your hoop from the machine for an in the hoop project, you run the risk of accidentally moving the stabilizer even just a little bit because you're fiddling with getting the hoop off of the machine. So just to kind of err on the side of caution and make sure that doesn't happen, I like to really, if I can help it, move my hoop the least amount of times possible during the stitch out. All right, so first things first, we're going to hoop only our stabilizer. And someone's asking, where do we get the design? I linked directly to the Avocado Guy Key Fob design in the description of today's post. So if you're not seeing that, click on the little see more button, or it might just say more. As soon as you click on that, the whole description will pop out. You'll see featured products, and you'll see in the hoop Avocado Guy Key Fob. Just click on that and it will take you to add that design into your cart at sulky.com. Again, go through the checkout process and it will say $0. And it's only free for the month of May 2025. So get it while you can. All right. So we're going to hoop up only our Sulky Tear-Easy Stabilizer. And you only need one layer of this. The stitching is not very dense. As I mentioned before, it's really just a bunch of running stitches. So the stabilizer is definitely adequate in one layer. Even though we're adding this little bit heavier weight fabric to it, it will hold up just fine for your stitch out. So, and you'll notice that I'm using a magnetic hoop here. There are a few digitizers out there that recommend not using magnetic hoops when you're doing in the hoop projects. And I think that really has to do with the fact that you have to remove the hoop and put it back on, sometimes several times when you're doing an in the hoop project. And when you have a magnetic hoop, I guess you have more of a probability that the hoop might shift the stabilizer a little bit. So just be very, very careful when you are removing your hoop, placing it back on. I like to just put my hands on both the upper and bottom hoop rather than trying to slide off the bottom hoop. I mean, it is held together by magnets, but we just don't want our stabilizer to move at all because that's going to move where our stitches are. They will not be in the same place if our stabilizer moves. So just keep these things in mind, or don't use a magnetic hoop and use one of your standard hoops instead if that is worrisome to you. All right, so we're hooping our stabilizer only. We're going to put, these are the materials that I use that I just talked to you about. Had that a little bit out of order. So you can see I also swapped rather the hardware color or style between all of the little avocado guys that I made. So I have a rose gold color of hardware that I paired with the cork. I have a nickel hardware that I paired with the vinyl. And then I have this pretty gunmetal. I love this finish of hardware. This is what I paired with my dark green avocado guy. So just to kind of show you the differences between those. All right, so back to our hooped stabilizer. We're going to place the hoop onto the machine and embroider step 1. Step 1 is just a placement stitch so we know where to put our first fabric square. So you want to make sure that your fabric is cut large enough to extend beyond this placement line by at least a half inch, all around. All right. So you'll use a little bit of Sulky KK2000. This is our temporary spray adhesive. Honestly, it is the best on the market. I can't live without this stuff. You'll want to use this on the back of whatever fabric you're using. And I should also mention, you also are going to want some Sulky clear embroidery tape. I can only find this little piece that I have. I use and reuse these a lot because it is reusable. It is repositionable. It's actually much wider than this, but I like to even make these pieces of tape a little bit more narrow. It tears away so cleanly. This one I have demonstrated with a little bit, but you can make your pieces a little bit more narrow and again, reusable, repositionable. If you accidentally sew over this tape, you can just tear it away cleanly along the stitching line and your stitches won't pop out. So that's why it's really superior to using painter's tape or masking tape. Masking tape just doesn't even have enough stick to it, in my opinion, to hold fabrics like these. And that's going to become important when we turn our hoop over. But for now, we're just going to use our KK2000 spray adhesive, and we're going to place our front fabric right side up over the placement stitches. So I also like to avoid taking my hoop off at this point to place the fabric. So if you do have a function on your embroidery machine that is the trim position function, once you engage that or press on that function, the hoop will actually slide toward you, but it remains on the hoop arm. So you don't have to remove your hoop to place your piece of fabric. You can place that down and then go back to the current stitch position and then follow suit or follow the color chart for step number 2, which is the inner avocado outline. Yes, I was going to say belly, but that sounds weird. So I'm going to say the inner avocado outline. All right, so that kind of tacks our fabric in place. And we're not going to worry about the outline stitching until the very end. So we have our inner avocado, and now we are going to move forward with the avocado pit, also the avocado mouth, and then the avocado eyes. So you can see how quickly this stitches out. So now we have our little avocado face. And at this point, we are going to take the hoop off of the machine very, very carefully so as to not disturb the stabilizer or move it at all. We're going to flip it over and we're going to put our second piece of fabric over the back side of the hoop. Again, covering all of those placement stitches from step 1. So you're going to use some KK2000, spray it on the felty or the back of your cork fabric, faux leather, whatever you choose to use. Place that right side up over the back of the stabilizer. And at this point, you really do need to use a couple pieces of that clear embroidery tape, because what can happen is you go to turn this over and put it on your embroidery arm. And what this fabric likes to do is kind of roll, right? Roll toward you when you are sliding the hoop on. And since you can't really see what's happening under there, you might start the next stitching line and all of a sudden it'll stitch over a folded piece of fabric rather than a flat piece of fabric. Tragedy. So to make sure that doesn't happen, it's a good idea to tape at least 2 of the corners down, if not all of the edges, just so nothing goes anywhere. All right, once you have that nice and secure, you can put your hoop back onto the machine, and then you will stitch the final step. That's how easy it is. The final step is that outline stitch. So at this point, you need to make sure you have a matching thread in the bobbin, or whatever thread in the bobbin you want to see on the back side of your key fob. All right. So now our little avocado guy is done and we can remove the hoop from the machine. Here's what it looks like when you do multiple designs in one hooping. Notice that I had to kind of trim away my dark green avocado guy because I didn't want the edges of that fabric to get caught in the other avocado guy's stitching. So just be aware of where the needle's going to go, how the hoop is going to move during the stitch out. And you may need to trim a little bit or at least tape it out of the way of the next avocado guy as you move along. This is also important on the back side of the hoop to make sure that your fabrics aren't overlapping in such a way where they will get caught in the other one's stitching. All right, so once we have our hoop off of the machine, we can take the stabilizer out of the hoop, and at this point we will tear it away along that outer stitching line. I think it's really important to tear away the stitching before we do any trimming, because if you wait until you trim, it's so hard to get in there and like tear away the stabilizer along that edge. But if you tear it away when you have your nice fabric squares, you can really grab a hold of it and tear it away nice and cleanly along those edges. All right. So do that for as many as you have made. I love that you can really assembly line do this. You know, you can whip out a lot of these in a short amount of time. Now it's time to trim up our avocado guy. So I like to trim about 1/8 of an inch away from the stitching line. I use a really sharp pair of scissors. If you have a sharp pair of scissors that's much smaller than the one that you're seeing here, you can use that too. It allows you to get into the little corners and really have a nice cut along the curved edges as well. So whatever you're most comfortable with. And if it makes you a little nervous to get that close to the stitching, because of course we don't want to cut through the stitching line, you can just be a little bit more generous with your seam allowance and trim about 1/4 of an inch away from the stitching. All right, so then we have our little guy. Now we need to finish him. So if you're not doing snaps, what you would do is wrap your upper edge, this little upper edge, wrap it around the hardware of your choice, whether you're using a D-ring or a key ring or a swivel clip, you name it. Wrap that other upper edge around it. And if you're not using snaps, put some wonder clips on either side and just top stitch along that lower curved edge, just following the previous top stitching. And then you will just sew this around your hardware. But if you want your key fob to be removable, you'll want to install some snaps of some kind. I think cam snaps are super cute because they come in all these different colors. And like I said, when I started using cam snaps, I got this cute little kit, which makes them so nice and neat and organized. So I got all these colors of cam snaps that I can use for so many different projects. And there's 12 different colors in here. My kit also came with the cam snap setter. Really important to get the snap setter that's for the snaps you're using. And then it also came with this cute little pink awl, because for these snaps, you need to have a hole for the snap to work properly, for it to be installed properly. You might be using a different type of snap that doesn't require a hole. Maybe you have some sew-in snaps that you can just whip stitch on there real quick. So just pay attention to whatever the manufacturer suggests for how to install the snaps that you're using. But as far as cam snaps go, this is how you do it. So first off, you need a hole for your male snap and a hole for your female snap. So what I like to do to make sure that they're going to match up properly is I just fold that tab over and make a little mark on either side and stick the awl right through it. And this awl went through all these layers of felty, as well as the layers of cork, and the vinyl went through it just fine. You might also, maybe you have a hole punch that has different diameters of holes that you can use. So whatever tool you have on hand to make your little hole for the snap, just be mindful of protecting your cutting table or work surface with whatever you're choosing to use. All right, so once you have both of the holes, if you need them, now you can install the male side and the female side of the snap. So cam snaps have 4 parts to them. There's the snap cover, and then there's also the little male and female components that go on the wrong side or the back side of your key fob. So notice that I have both of the snap covers on the right side of my avocado guy. And then I have the male side and the female side on the back side of the key fob. All right, so you'll kind of put those together through, with the layers in between. And there's the opposite side of the key fob. And then you can use your little tool to just kind of smush those layers together. And that's another reason why I love cam snaps, is because this thing is so easy to use. It does not require a lot of strength or elbow grease, and it's just really easy to squeeze on there, and all of a sudden your snap is attached. Some other types of snaps require you to use like a hammer and a little, what are they called? Just a little, a little circle tool. Sorry, I forgot what it's called, but so different kinds of snaps require different types of tools, but this one really, I think, is so easy. And also relatively inexpensive. I mean, this whole snap tab kit where I have oodles of snaps. I mean, I don't even know that I'll ever use all of them, and I make stuff like this all the time. Maybe it was $30, maybe 20 to 30 bucks. So not a huge investment for, everything that you get out of it, including the applicator or the tool. All right, enough about cam snaps. Once you have your snaps all on, now you just add the hardware of your choice. So again, great way to use up things like promotional key rings. Also, you don't even have to have a piece of hardware. You can wrap this around maybe a loop on a backpack or tote bag, something like that. So, get creative with what you have on hand. And then you have your cute little avocado guy. So he's simple, he's understated, but he has a little bit of personality. And depending on the fabrics that you go with, you get totally different looks for your avocados. So I think you can really have fun with this one, and it's a great way to spend just an hour or two at the sewing machine today and get creative and grab up your freebie. Maybe you have a bunch of friends who love their avocado toast every morning. This would be a great little gift idea for them. So I hope that you have fun with it. So that's my little nod to Cinco de Mayo, and my little nod to loving all things avocado. I'm just, I spent a lot of time, I grew up in California, and I guess that just makes me an avocado lover. I don't know. Is that controversial to say? I know everyone loves avocado, right? I don't know. Maybe there's a few of you who don't. But I'm sure that you know someone who does, and they might just appreciate a cute little handmade avocado guy. All right. Well, I hope you learned something new today, and I hope you go on over to sulky.com, grab up your avocado guy in the hoop machine embroidery design, and get to some stitching today. Also, be sure to check and make sure that you're registered for our Patriotic Patchwork webcast. It's happening next Tuesday. It'll be right after So What, or close to it. So we will be going live at 2 p.m. Eastern Time next Tuesday, May 13th, 2025 at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So I will still be here with you for So What at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we will head on over to sewingonline.sulky.com for this live webcast. And again, if you can't attend live, don't worry. Be sure to register anyway. You will be eligible to win 2 door prizes. One of them is a 1-year membership to the American Sewing Guild, which is an amazing prize. So if you are already a member of an American Sewing Guild chapter, you can tag that membership onto the end of yours and have a year for free. And if you've never been a part of American Sewing Guild before, this is a great time to learn about it. And if you're the winner of that great door prize, you can check out all it has to offer. All right, so I will see you next Tuesday, everyone. Have a creative rest of your week. And we'll see you on another So What, and for the Patriotic Patchwork webcast right here and over at sewingonline.sulky.com. All right, take care, everyone.